Ladies and gentlemen, men and women, miscreants and kings, scoundrels, curmudgeons, rapscallions, my people. I am Mike Shaner, and this is Sedition. So much going on today. I just want to talk about education and the history of education. And then Joe Biden came out and announced his vaccine mandate and takeover of the private sector would become effective New Year's, after the holidays, because the pandemic can wait. It's for your safety, but after Christmas. Also, today, a judge sentenced. Give me just a second. I've been having some technical difficulties here, so I had to. Oh, I lost it. The judge sentenced a woman to 60 days in jail for her role in the Capitol protest on January 6th. I want to look up some details on that. I've had just a hell of a time here. I should have started 20 minutes ago. Everything went haywire, and I couldn't get on at all. And as I've been trying to get on, I lost all the information I had saved. But give me just a second. Sorry guys, this happens sometimes. She's a TSA agent, an ex-TSA agent, so but what I want to do is I want to read what the judge told her. That's what I'm looking for. No, that's not it at all. Oh my God. It's that kind of day. So, anyway, the judge told her that basically he was using her to set an example. Like it or not, she had become a face of the January 6th movement, and he needed to respond, showing future generations that we will not take such attacks upon our democracy lightly. And 1-6 protester gets jail time. It was all over my feed. Now I can't find it. I don't like DuckDuckGo. I know it's the libertarian search engine of choice, but man, I always end up having to go to Google to find what I'm looking for. This is wild. I cannot find what I'm looking for here. So I'm going to go to Google and see if I can find what I'm looking for, because I can't find it on DuckDuckGo. You guys get to bear with me real time while I play on my iPhone. Thanks for joining me. But I want to read that. I want to read his statement. See, when I type it into Google, it's the first thing that comes up. You've been very upfront that you feel no sense of shame or guilt, a judge told Jenna Ryan. Blah, 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 blah. I don't think you... Okay. U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper acknowledged that while January 6th defendant Jenna Ryan played a lesser role in the crimes that occurred during that insurrection than many other defendants, that did not negate her culpability in what happened that day. I don't think you could have missed the fact that this was no peaceful protest. You were a cheerleader. You cheered it on. He wanted to make an example of this woman for cheering on a protest. He sent her to jail. She was not a TSA agent. I was getting the articles mixed up because I was trying to hurry up. She's a real estate agent. A real estate agent who occupied a public space as a member of the public on January 6th is sentenced to 60 days in jail because some judge said she needs to be made an example to protect our democracy because it's a fucking insurrection. It's not an insurrection. That's not insurrection. Not, but it's so sickening. Man, I hate when they make me defend Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump, and I probably don't like any of those people there. I mean, if they had been there to actually overthrow the government, I'd have been cheering them on, buddy. I don't care what they want to replace it with. I'd fight them then. But in that overthrow, I'd be a cheerleader going to jail for 60 days. They weren't there to overthrow the government. They marched in. Men, women, children, old women, and kids. When I'm wearing a bull costume, they're dressed up like furries. They're nerds. They're nerds. They went in there and took selfies. They're let in the gates by the police. The cops told them to leave and they did. That is not an insurrection. There were no arms found. They went in unarmed. They walked into a public space unarmed as members of the public to watch employees of the public do their job. That is not insurrection. Calling it insurrection is sickening. People falling for this bullshit and getting all up in arms, they don't believe it either. You watching this, you do not believe that was an insurrection. Because you're not that goddamn stupid. You're just not that fucking stupid. Nobody is. It wasn't an insurrection. It was a bunch of idiots. They don't deserve to go to jail. They don't deserve to be put in a cage because you don't like the politician they like. And it's not safe. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for you and it's dangerous for me. It's dangerous for society to put people in fucking jail because you don't like the politician they support. That is not cool, man. It is not cool. One person was hurt in the Capitol building that day. Murdered. One person was murdered inside the Capitol that day. Ashley Bobbitt, a young woman, murdered by an agent of the state, unarmed. No warning. Murdered. The murderer is not in jail. This real estate agent, who's probably a bimbo, she's in jail. A lot more people in jail for being members of the public and occupying a public space where public employees were. It's disgusting. It is flat out disgusting. This whole day is disgusting. This is America. This ain't cool, man. This shit ain't cool. I wouldn't celebrate this if it were Biden supporters. I'm not a Trump supporter. That's not, you can look back over the past 5 years from the moment his campaign started. I thought the man was a joke. I never thought there was any way he'd get elected, and then the left-wing media hated him so much they made him a martyr, a hero. If they had just judged him on his policies and just presented his policies for what they were, he would have been a middling president. But they didn't. They let his personality run the day. And they treated him so unfair that his supporters became cult-like. And their devotion to him grew. And the machine rolled with it. And that's how Donald Trump became so big. The media created him. And they did treat the man unfair. I like it. I'm glad they did. They should treat every president unfair. But 5 years ago, I didn't think he'd be elected, and then they got him elected. I was terrified. He didn't live up to the things that made me terrified. The only thing I was glad about when he got elected was that Hillary Clinton wasn't elected, because I knew that if Donald Trump if Hillary Clinton did some of the things Donald Trump did, and she would have done all the same things, she just wouldn't have been loud about it. The media wouldn't have reported on it. That was the only saving. So that was the only thing I thought was good about Donald Trump getting elected. There's a goddamn fly in here. It's 40 degrees outside. There's a fly in here. So, as his presidency went on, he talked games of peace, and then he drone bombed countries. He's a war criminal. He banned bump stocks. He's an anti-2A guy. Donald Trump made his fortune by eminent domain. So he has long used the power of government to take private property. He exploded. The inflation that we have right now, all that comes from Donald Trump. It comes from years, but Donald Trump just boom threw it out there. Donald Trump rushed through the vaccines. Donald Trump passed anti-gun legislation. I don't like Donald Trump. I'm not defending Donald Trump. So if it were Joe Biden's people that went to the Capitol building, that went to a public building on January 6th and walked through it and got shot and then arrested and made into public villains and called insurrectionists, as if those grandmas and mothers and children were going to overthrow the government with their bare fucking hands, I'd be defending them too, because nobody was going to overthrow the government. Government doesn't deserve to exist. They've proven today they don't deserve to exist. Those people in jail, sitting in jail waiting trial, having their lives ruined, this woman going to jail for 60 days, this judge grandstanding because we have to set an example for our democracy. When anybody says our democracy, he's a fucking tyrant. It's like when somebody says racist dog whistle, they're a racist. When someone says they have to save our democracy, they mean they got to boss you around. They think Joe Biden, Donald Trump, the Bushes, Mitt fucking Romney, they think that we are public property, that we exist at the pleasure of the king. They don't know why they lost this election the other night. The Democrats, they don't know why they lost it, and the Republicans don't know why they fucking won. It's because people are too stupid to just get away from both of them. They keep teetering back and forth. They don't like what this one's doing, so they change back to this one every 2 years. And they keep giving them the same shit. Sleight of hand. Come on, man. It's two hands. It's two fucking hands. When it's two hands, you change. You just throw it out of the hands. We're not doing this shit anymore. Throw your hands up. It's not that much to juggle. Kick those sumbitches out, because they think they own you. And the Republicans don't know why they won. They misread their mandate. The Democrats don't know why they lost. They claim it's because they claim this white governor who defeated the other white governor, and this black lieutenant governor who defeated the white lieutenant governor, and this Hispanic attorney general who defeated the white attorney general. They claim it's because everybody is racist, because we're white supremacists. Everybody in Virginia is a white supremacist. Anybody that wants their kids educated the way they see fit is a white supremacist, because they it's not about white supremacy. This type of divisiveness is at its end. They've got to see that it's not work. They can't keep doing that. They've got to see that people are fed up with being called racist for not being racist. And So they're going to look for new ways to divide us, and well, they've found new ways. Vaccines are one of them. The unvaccinated are now the dirty class of people. It'll no longer be by race and religion. It'll no sexual orientation. People don't care about that shit, and people haven't cared about that shit in so long, except on the fringes. And it's finally caught up with them. So now they got to find other ways to divide us. Joe Biden says, through executive order, any business in the United States of America who does not require their employees to be vaccinated and produce proof of vaccination, who has over 100 employees, will face a $13,000 fine or weekly test paid for by the employees. Weekly negative test. This is for a disease that almost exclusively doesn't affect the workforce. Working age people and healthy people who are healthy enough to work are almost untouched by this virus. Truth is, most of us probably had it. Here's the thing, I've got a flu that I've never had one go on this long. Like I said last week, I've had worse flus in my life. It's probably actually the easiest one I've ever had, but it's turning out to be the longest. I've never had one go on 10, 11 days like this. And today's worse than yesterday, but it's more like a cold than a flu. And now it's at the end. It's like my train of thought gets my head gets a little foggy, and I jump from word to word, and I forget what I'm talking about sometimes. But for the most part, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm pretty healthy. A week ago, I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. So it's like it's transformed into the flu. But anyway, my point in telling you this is, I wonder if I have COVID. I know I don't. I mean, I had a flu. I know what I had, but it's just the idea that I might have had COVID is, and don't know it. Like the idea that I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's what we're talking about. I'm gonna have to pause, you guys. You just bear with me. I'm not even gonna. It's gonna be about 10 minutes of just silence here. This is just the kind of day it is, but I've got cattle that just broke out into the neighbor's yard, so I have to go round up cattle, and I've got a lot that I still want to say, so I'm not done talking. Just anybody who wants to come back and watch this, watch it later on. If you're watching it on recording, just fast forward through. I'll tell you how long, but I will be back. Hell, that wasn't worth stopping for, was it? Life of a cowboy, baby. So, anyway, I don't know where I was at. Oh, so I think maybe I have the idea crosses my mind, as I'm coughing or something out in public. I'm like, man, I wonder if I have COVID. And, well, that's a hell of a thing to wonder, right? This is something that's supposed to shut down the whole world. That everybody's arguing about. People think that we shouldn't be allowed out in public. Something that maybe affects us so bad that I think that maybe I can get up and go chase my cows That I can get up at 5 o'clock, raise an old man, take care of an old man, feed the cows, run a full-time business, that I have this kind of energy is my point. And I'm wondering if I have this COVID. It's bullshit. It's a seasonal virus. I think some of us maybe just, I don't, it's up on what I think. Well, it's a seasonal virus. It's going to be an annoyance. Like the cold and the flu. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't, don't. The reason I don't want to get vaccinated, I didn't want to get vaccinated in the beginning, is because we don't have a long term. The vaccination has been out about a year. I watch just regular TV at night, and I see where baby powder causes cancer. I see every drug that passed all the regulations and went through the regular clinical trials have these side effects, and the list a mile long. That you're always, everybody that watches them, the joke is, man, I'd rather have the disease than all the side effects. I see all these class action lawsuits for all these drugs that went through the protocol that have been out for the long term. So I thought, well, you know what? This is a virus that affects old people, that affects sick people. And I'm not old and I'm not sick. I'm actually very healthy. I don't want to take this vaccine that really is no risk to me until I know what the long-term effects are. So I'm going to wait 4 or 5 years, and I probably would take it in 4 or 5 years. That was my original thought. I wasn't anti-vaxxer. I wasn't anti-science. I wasn't it's not that I didn't believe in COVID. But then they became so hell-bent, like a religion. And anybody that had anything alternate to say, they deplatformed them. They silenced them. They call them anti-vaxxers. Because we didn't want to get something that was rushed through by the Trump administration. All these same people said they also wouldn't get something that was rushed through by the Trump administration until they changed their mind, because it's not the Trump administration anymore. You have the most distrusted president in history rushing through a vaccine to get elected, and then you have the most incompetent president in history distributing that vaccine with plummeting approval ratings. Who wants to take credit for the vaccine? You've got a media that treats the vaccine as the Holy Grail. So, against a virus that has no teeth, we know who it hurts, we know who it affects, we know who's in danger. Those are the people that should be protected, and that's, if it were about health, that's where all the resources would have went. But it's not about health, is it? It's about control. It's about divisiveness, and it's about control. It's not a... I don't think it's any... it's just what it is. It's about divisiveness, and it's about control. You can't breach their hallowed ground. You can't walk into their buildings where they do the Lord's work, where they do the King's work. You can't go there and bother them. And you got to take the drugs when they say to take the drugs. That's something, isn't it, man? Think about that. You can't have a job. You've got to be shunned from polite society. And eventually we'll be arrested. It's like they're doubling down. It's like they know it's just time. Like they think they have as many of the numbers and as much of the strength as they're ever going to have, and they're ready to push. They're just ready to push it and get rid of the dissenters. They want to turn us into Australia and turn us into Australians. Getting beaten by the cops. That's why we can't support the cops. They are agents of the state. They are not agents of the people. I'll say this until the end. One thing that I noticed about this Build Back Better program that Joe Biden's desperate to pass they're blaming the losses the other night. Besides racism, it's because they didn't pass that because they think that we want more government. They lost those races. The main reason they lost those races is because of COVID. Is because of hypocrisy, not the fact that the virus is out. It's the fact that people live in a world and they can see with their own eyes, and they're coming out of the mass hysteria, and they're like, "There's no need for us to be shut down. There's no need for this governor to tell us we have to wear masks. We got to cover our faces to go out in public." But he doesn't cover his face when he's around whoever he wants to be around. And they sit at their tables, and their servants have to cover their faces because they can't see the servants' faces because it's disgraceful to look at the servants' faces. But their faces are uncovered as they sit this close to each other. People see that shit. People are tired of being bossed. A lot of people are a lot more submissive than I am. A lot of people were like, you know what? Keep us safe. We'll do this. But even there, a lot of them are waking up now. A lot of them are waking up and realizing that viruses happen. This virus is here to stay. And it's pretty well under control. And we know who to keep safe. We know that most of the deaths, a large number of the deaths, happened in 3 or 4 states in the Northeast by Democrat governors who put COVID patients in nursing homes with elderly people and killed all of them. And nobody's paying for that. Nobody's paying for that. Nobody's going to jail for that. Nobody's going to jail for that. They're winning re-election. Gavin Newsom won re-election. He's not in the Northeast, but he did the same thing. And a lot of people don't realize he did that in California. He's not getting arrested for killing those old people. Murphy, he's not getting arrested for killing those old people. Cuomo, he's not. Wilson, she's not getting arrested for killing those old people. Cuomo touched a woman, so he's gonna be spared a perp walk, but not you or I wouldn't, but he is. But he's not gonna be bothered about those old people. Fuck those old people, right? But this woman, she's got to be put in jail for 60 days because she's a danger to our democracy. Kill 8,000 old people in nursing homes by the power of government. You're a danger to no one. You deserve re-election. Shoot an unarmed woman for being in public property, owned by the public, her property. No warning. A young veteran, shooter, no jail time, no consequences. You're a hero. You saved our democracy. But be a 50-year-old woman who walks into the Capitol building and you are a threat and you deserve to be in jail for 60 days. It's not the country. That's not free. So, anyway, in this big Build Back, I can't talk. In the Build Back Better program, this pre-K, big push for pre-K. Popular thing, they say, pre-K, mandatory pre-K, paid for pre, not mandatory, it's going to be mandatory though, watch, that's what I'm getting at. Paid for pre-K. It's going to start paid for. Every child from 5 years old, every human being in the United States of America, they're going to want to mandate to be vaccinated from 5 years old and up. In a matter of years, they're going to want to take you from the cradle. Whether you want to put your child in pre-K or not, it's going to become compulsory. Just like kindergarten is compulsory, just like first grade is compulsory, just like K through 12 is compulsory. So will pre-K be compulsory. They don't want mothers raising their children. They want the children out of the house. They want the bodies in the slave force. They want the children being indoctrinated from cradle to grave. It's coming. In the 1920s was the first big, actually, Alabama was one of the first states in the union to have compulsory education in 1915. It was mandatory that every child attend at least 80 days of school per year. The literacy rate at the time, 20% of adults in Alabama were illiterate. Only 2 states were behind us in literacy: South Carolina and Louisiana. 2021, 15% of adults in the state of Alabama are illiterate. Only 1 state is behind Alabama in literacy. That is Mississippi. We've been demanding education. We've been demanding that your children belong to the state and be educated by the state longer than anybody. And we haven't made a dent. If you don't meet the exemptions that they say, you have to get your kids inoculated, and you have to put them in kindergarten when they're 5 years old, and let the state educate them until they're roughly 18 years old. If they miss too many days, the truancy officer will come to your door. They will take your children and put them in more suitable care, and you can be punished with up to 60 days of hard labor. They can come and take you and say you owe the state your labor. They can take your children away from you. How are they yours? In 1920, the push for compulsory education caught on nationwide because private schools, Catholic schools, were taking a foothold. They were gaining a lot of traction. Basically, public funds were the well-to-do people weren't putting their children in public schools because public schools sucked. They were putting them in private Catholic schools. The NEA did not like this. You know who else didn't like it? Ku Klux Klan. They outlawed private school for all practical effects in Oregon in 1922, and compulsory education was born. There was another 10 years or so before all the states could really enforce it. But the Ku Klux Klan, because of their hatred of Catholics, and the NEA, because of their hatred of competition, made compulsory education a nationwide pandemic. When they talk to you about, they like to tell you if you're against compulsory education, if you're against state-sponsored education, which is something that, it sounds like something that comes out of North Korea, you know, state education. They call you a racist. It's one of those dog whistles. It's ironic, isn't it? Considering the role the Klan played in compulsory public education. Every business in America with 100 or more employees has to enforce vaccine mandates. To work, they're saying you have to inject yourself with drugs. We're at an end point. It's time to fight back. It doesn't matter if you like me. It doesn't matter if you agree with me. It doesn't even matter if you think mandates, if you think vaccines are the way to go, if you think everybody should get vaccinated. Mass noncompliance is the only peaceful solution left. Any business that cares about a free society should refuse to enforce this mandate. They should refuse to allow OSHA on their premises. And if they are fined, they should refuse to pay any fine. Any state that cares about its citizens should refuse to allow OSHA in its state and should arrest any federal agent trying to enforce such a fine on citizens of its state. And every individual should refuse the mandate, should refuse the vaccine. It's a tough choice because you got a family to feed. But if you don't stand for something, what's the point? What are you giving to your children? We need community-based schools. We need people who can homeschool and who are adapted to be teachers to get with neighborhood parents, come up with some sort of co-op, and teach neighborhood children. We need communities again. It is true. This country has become so tyrannical and is becoming so tyrannical. We're there. We have to live our lives as an act of rebellion. Just to be left alone. But the state doesn't own your body. The state doesn't own your business. The state doesn't own your children. OSHA needs to be abolished. I have a credit card processing business. None of my employees will have to be vaccinated. I'll never ask them if they're vaccinated. I'll never care if they're vaccinated under any circumstances. If you take credit cards, if you are a business owner and you take credit cards, I can help you lower your processing rate. If you use Square, you're definitely paying too much. If you're using a local bank, you're definitely paying too much. The way I can save you money with credit card processing is the banks basically sell to me at wholesale. I can get it cheaper than you can by going directly to the bank because I buy bulk. I'm also an individual that cares about his business and cares about his clients. I'm always available. You can always reach me on the telephone, 205-440-6513. I'd like to earn your solutions for all your merchant services needs. Now that my commercial's out of the way, I'm going to give you one more commercial and then I'm going to sign off. Volunteerism in action. I started the Libertarian Charitable Association because I believe in the things that I'm talking to you about. I believe in a free society. I believe in a prosperous society. But I believe with freedom does come responsibility. I believe it's not the government's place to take care of the less fortunate, and it's not the government's place to take care of the elderly and the sick. So I started the Libertarian Charitable Association of Alabama. We raise money for different causes. From now until the end of winter, I'm raising money to pay the power bill for elderly people in rural areas who don't really have access to some of the government programs that inner city people get. A lot of people in trailers out in the country, a lot of old women, a lot of that sort of thing, who don't know how they're going to stay warm through the winter, and they have to decide sometimes if they're going to buy groceries or pay for electricity. And anyway, look us up, tlcalabama.com, or the Libertarian Charitable Association of Alabama on Facebook. Please donate what you can. If you can't donate anything, just share the Facebook or the Instagram page, and spread the love, brother. Also, look up Spread the Love 2020. It's a good organization. I'm not affiliated with it in any way. He's not paying me to advertise it, but spreadthelove2020.com, spreadthelove2020 on Facebook, on Instagram. They do a lot of good work, and you know, things are about to happen. Things are about to turn south. We need people who will take care of other people. We need people who are strong enough to defend other people, and we need people who are gentle enough to care for other people. Be safe out there. Be prosperous. Take care of one another.